collage, I am doing a bunch of triangles on this painted background right here. So to do that, the first thing you want to note is with your colored piece of paper, you always want to start cutting from the edges. So don't pick a spot in the middle because that would be wasteful for the paper around it if you just took a little bit out of the middle. So if you notice, all of these pieces of paper I've been using for the past class periods, I've just started with the edge. So start there. And I am going to cut out another big triangle. So you might take with the pencil, trace what shape you want out of the colored piece of paper. Just doing another triangle here. If you are still deciding what shapes you want, try to stay away from shapes with too much negative space. Does anybody know what negative space is? Anybody? Do you think you know? Yeah, exactly. Spaces that are cut out of the middle. So if you think of like a donut, the space in the middle, that would be negative space. If you look up here at this example, this has a lot of negative space on it in between these little shapes. Those are just going to be harder to cut out with scissors. So you don't have, you can do this, but try to stay away from negative space if you can. If you need something like an X-Acto knife, you can't cut it with scissors, just let me or Ms. Courtney know and we can get you set up with one of those. Otherwise, you'll just cut it out of your colored piece of paper like normal. And on one side of this piece of paper, you'll glue it. So set down a piece of scrap paper, get your glue stick, and just cover the entire side in glue. And put it on your painted background wherever you want. I'm going to pick a spot with a lot of pinks because that'll contrast. It's a dirty piece of paper, that's okay. Okay, so that's where I have my piece of paper there. If you want to do something that's more realistic or complicated for your collage pieces, that's completely okay. It doesn't have to be shapes as much as the background is. If you wanted, I know some of you wanted to do like an animal or the silhouette of a person, you can do that. What you do for that case is first sketch it out on your piece of paper. So for example, if I want to make a sphere with a cast shadow on it, I'm going to sketch that out first. So there's my sphere. Oh, thank you. Oh, did it go? Please hold. Okay, so I'm going to sketch out my circle first and my cast shadow here. And I'm going to say that this side of the sphere is going to be darker. So that's going to be a section. The main thing when you're sketching it out is to kind of break it up into chunks based on what colors you're going to have where. So these are all three going to be different colors. So those are my three pieces. 1, 2, and 3. Sorry, they're upside down. But label your pieces. You might label them the color you want them so you don't forget. And then cut those out of the piece of paper so that you have those different pieces. Okay. Next thing you'll do is you'll put those pieces and just trace them like they're a template onto your colored piece of paper. And once you have them all cut out, it should look something like that. I've done this a lot of times, so I can just pull it up so you can see. Okay, so that is what you do if you have a more complicated thing. If it's more complicated than that, if it's something that you already have a picture of and you need to trace and sketching it out like this wouldn't work, let me and Ms. Courtney know because we have some, carbon paper, I always forget the name of it, carbon paper that'll make that transfer easier, or we also have tracing paper too. Let us know if this won't work and you need to do something else for that. The very last thing we'll be doing for your collage pieces is putting Mod Podge on top of it. Mod Podge is a type of adhesive. It's just a white liquid kind of thing. So all we will do is cover your entire painting collage piece in Mod Podge. It's going to look like you're ruining your piece because you're putting this white gunk on it. but it dries completely clear. So both of those examples on the board are completely coated in Mod Podge and then they dried. And actually all of these other pieces have been coated Mod Podge and have dried. So when you put it on, you're going to put on a pretty thick layer. Okay. I'm going to cover this triangle here. I'm just showing you the triangle, but like I said earlier, you're covering your entire painting with this Mod Podge. And it will look like that, except over the whole painting.
So you don't even see the triangles?
No, you'll still see through them, but there's going to be some white on top of it. Yeah, but when it dries, it'll be